What is up, you guys? It's your boy Zombie Taker, and today we are going to be talking about quadrants. Now, what is quadrants? Quadrants is basically what quadrants is which I'll explain right here because I think this is a perfect match that I've recorded, and I think it would be great for this video. So there's a lot of meanings when it comes to quadrants, and this is something like my own ingredient that I've come up with, and something that it has been working for me no matter what fighting game I'm picking up, whether if it's Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. I wouldn't say Tekken because Tekken is like a whole different game, but it still can be used, but it just would have to, be like more experimenting to make quadrant works when it comes to a game like that. But for games like mainly for 2Ds like this one, I say quadrants actually works the most when it comes to these 2D fighting games. So let's get straight to the video. So quadrants actually the first meaning of quadrants of my technique to this is actually applies to the four keys. It applies offense, defense, and confidence, um and fear. Now you might be confused, like, why fear, right? I'll explain that as we go. And the second meaning of quadrants is usually when a round starts, right? There's always, I like to picture four lines, like quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So for example, Peacemaker, he's in quadrant 1, and Rain is in quadrant 4. So, and another thing when it comes to matchups, as I've explained before, is you want to understand with your character versus the character you're going up against, what's the best quadrant that you want to deal that you should be dealing with against that character, right? So I'm going up against Rain here, right? And I could, the fact that I'm Peacemaker, I can go zoning the entire time if I want to, right? But I also got to think, though. Rain has a force field, like the water orb thingy that he does, where, any projectiles that you throw is not going to affect them. So my best solution to this is play quadrant 1 when I think it's necessary, which is technically zoning, right? Because Peacemaker, he is mainly a zoner. And play quadrant 4 when I think it's the right time, which is fear. Like when I think the player is already in fear of his life, knowing that I might already have a life lead, and I might have already have downloaded him, and now I'm the one going aggressive, right? Whatever situation it is, and the fact that I'm now confident of it. So basically, quadrant, in other words, is spacing, pretty much, but not your your regular type spacing that you'll hear other players explain about spacing. Now this spacing is more like something that I've come up with and that it has worked for me, especially whatever matchup I'm walking into. So let's play the video. As you can see, I'm in quadrant 4 because I'm deciding to, go offense first. And right here, look what I did here. Because of the combo of how I ended the combo, I technically allow myself to get back to that full space, which is quadrant one. And then at the same time, which this is probably bad for me, but it's okay because, of course, in this game, I do end up winning, even though I'm in a tie situation with him because this is a rank set. Um, and he's back in quadrant four, so technically he could play the same way like me, play that full zoning control if he wants to. And let's see what happens next here. As you can see, I'm already beginning to play that zoning because I call in Eagly, as you can see. And this is where I'm saying, right? I also had to think about, okay, I could play quadrant one if he's in quadrant four, which is technically, I'm in full screen on the left side and he's in full screen on the right side. But just like I mentioned earlier, I already knew, right? Especially like when the moment was happening, I already knew that if I'm dealing with rain, I know I can't, play quadrant one, and all the time because, and it depends what character, right? But because of the character that I'm using, since he has Sony tools, it is actually, all right for me to play quadrant one because then that means if I really want to play in that space game like quadrant one, which is zoning, but of course because of the character that I'm going up against, I can't play it the entire time. Look what he's doing in quadrant four, right? He's protecting himself and to not get hit from the full screen zoning against my peacemaker. Okay, back to the video. I'm sorry that I ended the recording, but now we're resuming. I had to pick up like a phone call. Anyway, we're back to this. So as I was explaining, he's in quadrant four, right? I'm in quadrant one. So I know that I can't play zoning the entire time, knowing that if I play the entire time, then I'm not gonna get anywhere, right? And looking at the life lead, of course he has a better life lead than me just by a little bit. So I know like technically I have to basically push into quadrant four or quadrant three. That's another thing too. I can either play quadrant three or four. Now, how would you play quadrant three? Quadrant three is basically the space where you could catch them, with a whiff, right? So if I'm using Peacemaker, his best whiff tool will be the one where he basically kicks you, right? And then he does, the shoulder hit into the Eagly that most peacemakers would go for, like that combo conversion, right? Or go to quadrant four where I'm using like, the 1-2 into the headbutt, right? That he does, or any other combo routes with it, right? So let's get into the video. Let's continue. You see what I'm saying? Quadrant three, technically in that space where I am is quadrant three, is where I stepped into. And then the fact that he stepped in, he got out of quadrant four and quadrant three, right? Technically now he's in my space. So in this space right here, where technically now it's like I'm a little bit like, if I move a little bit back, I'm back to technically quadrant two. It won't be full screen, but it'll be on my way to full screen to quadrant one, right? So since I'm like in between a quadrant two and three, that's when I threw the whiff right here. Especially because, and one thing, the mistake that I've noticed that I made here is I didn't believe, right? Because I thought he was going to block. So that was actually my fault here. But you seen how he also like pushed into my space? That was like his mistake. If he would have just, own that space, and what I mean by own is I mean basically just waiting and make it where I basically accidentally get myself into his space, right? But my goal at that moment, right, is knowing like I can't play that full screen control the entire time, knowing that he has a better life lead than me. I know like one of us had to go one to the other, right? So I decided to be, the person to go offense, right? So because I decided to go offense, I basically owned my space because I already knew what I wanted to do. That, once I hit to quadrant 3, I knew that my goal was just catch him with the whiff, and it successfully worked because for some reason this person decided to step into my, quadrant 3. And then right here at this point, I'm basically on his side of the screen, which is quadrant 4. So now this is basically a boxing match. That's what it is, because now we're eye to eye to each other. And then basically, because due to the animation, it just put me back to quadrant 2. And this is almost like the same space when you start off round 1, right? So now I'm back to quadrant 2, and he's back to quadrant technically 3 right here. Yeah, let's get into let's continue. I'm back to quadrant 4, as you can see. And notice how like how I'm holding this space. This person is not caring enough for defense or anything. And remember how I talk about the 4 keys? So technically, in this position that you're looking at right now, I'm the one with the confidence. He's the one with fear. So now when it comes to the 4 keys, here's the thing you got to know about these 4 keys. So let's go over confidence, since basically I'm the one, who's confident in this situation. And this is something that I wrote down, so I'm going to be reading it. Go ahead, grab a pencil and take notes, off of me, and hopefully, with these ingredients that I've created my own, and it has worked, a lot of, with my gameplays. Hopefully this will inspire you to own any type of spacing, like wherever you are in the stage, right? Because this is technically the easiest way to understand about spacing, right? So when you're confident, you're supposed to have like these are the mindsets you're supposed to have. Like these 3 mindsets in your head is: 1, you should be pressing buttons with a purpose, right? 2, you should know if your pressure is working, right? Like for example, notice what I've been doing here. It's been working. I've been mixing, I've been conditioning, right? And also reading, right? Like guessing like what I'm, what I think he was gonna do next. Like I know like maybe me, after him attacking me, right? Like after finish with his turn, and the fact that I poke him here, right? So I stole his turn. because it looked like he did press a button, but I interrupted it. So next thing you know, after that, right? The 1-2, and then from there, I noticed like he was not even confident because he seems like, he's just guessing at this point. And the fact that he went low, he probably thought I was gonna go for a high again, which this is basically me mixing it up, right? And which is number 3. The peak of the flow state. So what I mean by that is if it's working, continue it. Continue it until they start adapting it. And then if they do start adapting it, that's when you want to come with a different strategy, like in real time, right? So just keep continuing the rhythm pretty much. And that's what I did. As you can see, I'm in full control here. I'm the one that's, I'm the one with the confident. He's not. He's just, afraid. And at this point, seems like he's just like pressing buttons, doing anything that he can to just survive by any means necessary. And then this was his mistake here, knowing that, and this is why I explained in the very first tip video that I made when this game was like new, right? Is understand the frame data of your opponent. So know what you could punish. For example, since I'm dealing with rain, know what can you punish from rain that's unsafe, and know what you should not be falling for that could be bait, to them, like them baiting you into something that you think that it's unsafe, but it's not, because it's actually a plus frame. And what he did right here, and this is how I know he was just not confident no more. He's just playing whatever. And the fact that I kind of felt like that was coming, I decided to take the risk and just armor. And you know what they say, sometimes when you take risks, it can be rewarding. And this was actually rewarding because, of course, I armored his shit and he died. Right? Now, the second key, confidence defense, you're blocking calm, teching grabs, not mashing, just waiting for your turn and waiting to, seize the opportunity of, to punish what you can punish them for, right? Always believe in your defense, and always like scout for habits, right? So that's another thing for, the key of number 2, right? When it comes to confidence. And then just be like a wall, like don't panic, nothing, like this guy did, right? Or this is technically his fault, because if he really wanted to come back, and the fact that he knows that I was the type of player that just already knows like what are the weaknesses of rain, like knowing like what's unsafe and what's not safe. If I was him in that situation, if I really wanted to try to, turn this around, if I was Rain, my goal, right, should be to, and I know it might be scary because especially where the life lead he's at versus where I'm at, if I was Rain, then my only risky play would be try baiting him, mix him up, and then just play the same mindset like, I was playing, like try to reflect, right? Like mirror your opponent. So if I'm playing based on quadrants, do something where I'm doing, like, even though there's a chance that they might not understand what quadrants is, and they're, but they should understand what spacing is. So that should have been my goal if I was the Rain player, right? But unfortunately, he didn't have any of those mindsets and just got himself killed instead of trying to at least bait me or whatever. and try to find ways where I could be the one panicking, you know? So, because even strong players like don't believe like what strong players say. No matter what, strong players, they can panic as well. Everybody can panic. So don't believe, the bullshit like, oh, top players they never panic and shit. Yes, they fucking do. Because, even a top players, like your favorite top player may not make it to top 8 all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, and now, fearful defense, right? You're second guessing yourself, you freeze, panic, overblock, or get open up easy. Um, doubts creeping in, your opponent is in your head, you're reaching late because you're not trusting your reads, right? Fearful offense, you're attacking without belief, throwing out random specials, hoping something lands, right? Which is technically what this guy was doing. And you feel pressure to do something, but nothing is it planned. And this is why I always tell people, no matter what type of matches you're getting yourself into, whether if it's, casual or rank or even a tournament set, right? Or same thing, you might be playing, with a hardcore buddy like that sweaty SU or whatever, right? Maybe trying to get games in because you two could be like pro players. I mean, and I know you guys see my stream. You guys, see me play with wonderful people like Demonic, Yagami, and then, all these other players that I've, you may recognize and see me play with, right? That like always, no matter what, always play your games with a strategy. If you don't have a strategy, then you're just gonna fumble and possibly get yourself into a 2-0 situation or even a 3-0 situation if it's a tournament set, right? Or even like if you just didn't try hard enough to try, like to even at least get a game off, right? Like pulling off round 1, round 2, whatever, right? So that's what Quadrant is, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, Quadrants is it's spacing. And another thing about a few drills that you can start with, and back again, the 4 keys, which number 1, after every set, don't just think I lost because of the drop or whatever, however you lost, right? Write down which quadrant you spend the most time in, then write how you could have shifted it up, right? It's like, for example, you remember how I explained how if this was a different character that I was going up against, I would have just been an asshole type and just zone the entire time, right? Like just stay in quadrant 1. But knowing because of the character that I'm going up against, right? Like there's no way I'm gonna win this game just by staying in quadrant 1, knowing that he has a force field that, like right now, right? If I'm pretty sure, right? And I'm willing to bet, if I would have stayed zoning the entire time like this, all the guy needs to do, and the fact that he had a better life lead than me, is just keep calling the force field, right? And technically, it's not going to lead me anywhere to get that W, right? So that's what I mean by shifting up. And then number 2, focus round training mode, simulate pressure, have a CPU or friend, whatever, go ham and practice staying calm on defense. Your goal should be stay in confident defense as long as possible. 3, heartbeat reset. That breath is the line between fearful and confident. Sounds cheesy, but trust me, composure wins sets. Number 4, which is the last key, opponent mapping. In long sense, try to mentally track your opponent's shifts, You'll start predicting when they panic. That's when you strike, not with buttons, but awareness. And it's crazy because I don't know anybody that is talking about quadrants, you know? Because I know when I started with fighting games, I really didn't understand spacing. So I try to find my own definition of spacing. And if you want to make it simple, we can even go to practice and I can tell you best examples maybe. And I I know like I do this plenty of times. So I'll make it easy. Like me going up me as Peacemaker going up against Natara, right?
Nice guns.
And trust me, I do this a lot with friends of mine. Even when matches like this that you're seeing right now, like
Someday, Lieutenant
me,
Doom,
Peacemaker with
dragging
Natara, I done this with Demonic. I've done this with other friends of mine. I've done this like, you know, I use this strategy in rank sense. I use this strategy as well in tournaments. And for example, let's just say, right? I'm in quadrant 3. Basically between quadrant 3 and 2, right? So, because this is quadrant 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So, usually when a round starts, I'm in quadrant 2, she's in quadrant, in her side, it'll be 3. Once we meet here, either one of us, so if I meet her, let's just say all the way to the other side of the screen, right? I'm quadrant 1. She's in quadrant 4. Matter of fact, Natara can't do anything with quadrant 4 because she doesn't have Sony tools. However, I can actually, you know, play quadrant 1 if I decide to, because I'm using a Sony archetype character, right? So if Natara wants to win this, like if she wants to win this matchup, her goal is to be anywhere like right here, which is quadrant 2 side. Quadrant 2 on his left side, right? And then try to get myself into quadrant 1. Now, unless if I'm in quadrant 2, right? Do something, and this is even better, because if I can do something in quadrant 2, like catch him off a whiff, right? So I'm in her space, right? Because I thought I'll just record right there on the spot, but seems like they just put us back into, you know, a reset. So okay, I'm in her space, right? Let's just do that. Now, if I'm in this situation, right? If I'm Natara, my goal here is to play, like if I'm in the right side, obviously my goal here is quadrant 3 into 2 on his side, right? Now if I'm on the left side, it's the same thing. Like try to play him into quadrant 3 or 2, right? So if I'm playing quadrant 3, bam, right? Try to catch him with the whip button, right? And it's the same thing with Peacemaker, right? So if I do something like, you know, something like that, right? Like, understand the goals of what quadrants you should be playing against that character. So in this game, if I'm Peacemaker, my goal should be actually, because of the character that I'm going up against, I should try to force an Atara player to play the ground game. So technically, you know, I should play basically which let's just say if she's there, right? Basically, in this matchup, if I was Peacemaker, my goal for sure is just play Quadrant 1, go zoning, right? Like, you know, throw darts, do this, do a combo, right? You get what I mean? So, now, if I notice an Atara already basically in this space where she's gonna land, which, let's do it again. Let me put her all the way here, right? This is the only time, if you're Peacemaker, right? This is the only time you should be playing Quadrant 2. It's because most likely, let's just say if they pass your projectile and they also pass your darts, right? Because some Natara players, they'll be able to they'll be able to successfully pass the dart, right? Like, they're gonna land already on Quadrant 2. So technically, at this point, I shouldn't even be playing zoning anymore. I should already be prepared to try to catch her with a whiff, or even, you know, start boxing and get into her zone. So if she's Quadrant 3, bam, I'm in Quadrant 3. Now it's a boxing match because I'm in your zone. Like, I don't even need to use, like, buttons, like, that's based off whiffing. The only time you should be using, like, a whiff attack is if your goal is actually trying to get a whiff punish. Like, you know, like I said, if, let's just say, you know, she does this, right? And then I could just catch that as a whiff punish, right? So, like that, right? That's what I'm talking about. And trust me, this, to me, in my opinion, is the easiest way to understand spacing. Now, I'll show you one more demonstration. Because I don't want to make this video too long as it is. So, let's say we'll pick Lee May.
Facts, ma'am.
And we'll do something different. We'll do Sector, right?
The code red.
Or actually, I could be Natara and Sector.
Let me just say, damn.
Cameo don't matter because we're just focusing on the main characters, right? Because basically, that's the main key, like beating the main character to get that W, right? So, for example, I actually had a matchup. I'm not sure if you guys watched my Run the Inferno tournament run, the one that I made my first top 8 in. But one of the opponents I went up against, he was just doing this the entire time, right? Right? Like, he was doing that the entire time, right? So, because, and this actually makes sense, because Sector can actually play that zoning game if she wants. And actually, she could, because I'm using Natara, right? So, actually, that should be the player's goal, right? The goal is to not, especially because I'm Natara, right? Like, you get hit by Natara, that's it. You're getting that, you know, you're getting that life taken away, bro, because, of course, this girl causes fucking big damage, right? So, of course, you don't want to get touched by Natara. So, your goal is to make sure that I don't get into your space at all, right? And then my goal is to try to successfully get in without, getting hit, or it's okay if I get hit, but not too much where, now they're getting a better life lead. Like, let's just say my life ends up getting half and this person is already, it's still in the full life lead, right? So this will be me, right? Bam. See that? Quadrant 4. I met her into Quadrant 3, and then push, ourselves into Quadrant 4, where now we're both in the same spacing zone, right? That's what I'm talking about. So know what your goal should be. Like, what quadrants should you be playing against that character? So if I'm meeting Sector and I'm Natara, my quadrant should be playing Quadrant 2 into try to move into Quadrant 3, right? Or in between. What I mean by in between is do the same thing like I mentioned, with the Peacemaker and the Natara that I was demonstrating. Like, if she whiffs something, right? Like, if she whiffs something, right? Try to do something where obviously get her, with the whip punish. Right? That's what I'm talking about. So this is basically like the cheating way of understanding spacing. So yeah, if this helps you, drop a like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to see any more of these tips videos, and also remember, this technique of mine also implies if you play games like Street Fighter 6, 2XKO, knowing that game is new. So go ahead and try that method in 2XKO, same thing. If you're playing Street Fighter 6, try that method in Street Fighter 6. If you're playing Guilty Gear, try that method in Guilty Gear. So hopefully this helps you, and like I said, if so, subscribe, leave a comment. We just hit 370, and let's try to hit 10 more into 380, another 10 more into 390, and get to that 400 game. You know what I'm saying? Because of course my goal is to hit 500 and get that basic YouTube monetization, where I'm able to get super chats and more stuff with the basic one, where now I can start, making something of, what I love to do. So, yeah, this is your boy Zombie Taker, and I'm signing out. Deuces.